The church smelled like old wood and rain. Outside, 23 Harley-Davidsons sat in perfect formation under gray October skies, chrome dulled by mist. Inside St. Michael's, the pews held men whose leather vests bore the coiled serpent and crossed wrenches of the steel ravens, a brotherhood that had outlived wars, marriages, the slow death of the American dream itself. Cole Barrett stood closest to the casket. 62 years had carved deep lines around his eyes, weathered his face to something between granite and regret. His right hand rested on the polished mahogany, trembling slightly. Not grief, not yet. Parkinson's early stage, a secret he kept close as a loaded gun. The tremor came and went, usually when he was tired or the weight of leadership pressed too hard. Today it pressed until his knuckles went white. Elena's face through the casket glass looked peaceful. That was the lie they told at funerals. She looked empty. 59 years of fire and stubbornness reduced to waxy stillness. The mortician had done good work hiding the trauma from the fall, the 40-meter drop that had snapped her neck and ended everything Cole had built his life around. 35 years. That was how long Elena had kept him breathing when every instinct said to stop. Vietnam had hollowed him out, left him a shell that drank too much and saw ghosts in every shadow. She'd found him in 1989 at a VA meeting, this tiny woman with iron in her spine who'd looked at him like he was still worth salvaging. Married 6 months later. No kids. God had taken that from them twice. Stillbirths that nearly broke them both. So Elena had poured her heart into lost causes instead. Stray dogs, battered women, street kids nobody else saw. The pastor cleared his throat. Nervous energy rolled off him in waves. 23 bikers made civilians twitchy, even reformed ones. Steel Ravens hadn't run drugs or guns in 15 years. Not since Cole took the president's patch and steered them legitimate. Now they ran Morrison's garage, did charity rides for veteran suicide prevention, showed up when wildfires displaced families. Clean living, honest work. The kind of redemption that took decades and cost everything. We'll now observe a moment of wait. The word came small and high, a child's voice cutting through the chapel's heavy silence, like a knife through leather. Every head turned, even the dead seemed to listen. A girl stood in the doorway, 10 years old maybe, soaked through from the rain, dark hair plastered to a face that was all angles and hunger. Jeans 2 sizes too big, held up with a length of rope. Purple jacket with a torn sleeve probably pulled from a donation bin. Shoes held together with duct tape, the kind of poverty Americans like to pretend didn't exist in their backyards. Marcus Stone, they called him Hammer back in the day, when knuckles did more talking than words moved first. 6 feet of Vietnam-era muscle gone slightly soft gray in his beard, but not his eyes. He started toward the girl, hand raised to guide her back outside somewhere she belonged. That wasn't here, disrupting Elena's send-off. Cole's hand shot up. Stop. Hammer froze mid-step. 45 years of brotherhood meant reading Cole's signals like Morse code. They'd bled together in rice paddies, held each other, through nightmares, built the Ravens from nothing but rage and hope. When Cole said stop, you stopped. The girl walked down the center aisle. Her steps were deliberate, eyes fixed on the casket like it was the only thing in the world. She passed men who could break her without effort, men whose knuckles bore scars from fights that belonged in history books. None of them moved. Something in her walk, that strange mix of terror and determination, held them frozen. When she reached the casket, she threw both arms around it, her cheek pressed against the wood breath, fogging the polished surface. The sound she made wasn't quite a sob, more like a prayer spoken in a language grief invented. Not yet. Please, not yet. The pastor shifted his weight, Bible clutched like a shield. Young lady, I understand this is difficult, but I said not yet. Her voice cracked but held. She squeezed tighter small fingers, finding purchase on the brass handles. Like if she held on hard enough, death might reconsider. Cole knew that feeling. He'd held Elena the same way in the hospital, when the doctors said there was nothing more to do, when cancer was supposed to take her in 6 months. Not 4 days, not like this. Cole moved forward. His knee clicked, another gift from age, but he kept his steps even measured. The way you approached wounded animals. The way Elena had once approached him when he'd been the one broken and dangerous. He crouched beside the girl, eye level now. The chapel floor was hard on old joints. His voice came out softer than intended, roughened by cigarettes he'd quit 20 years ago, but whose damage remained. What's your name, kid? She didn't turn. Her shoulders shook under the thin jacket. Riley. He tested the name, let it settle. How did you know, Elena? She saved me 3 months ago. The words spilled out between shuddering breaths. She found me sleeping behind the dumpster at Carson Street, the one by the Chinese place. Brought me food. Real food, not scraps. She kept coming back. Every week, sometimes twice. She was the only person who... The sentence broke. Grief took the rest. Cole felt something twist in his chest. Of course Elena had found her. Elena collected broken things the way other people collected stamps. She'd seen something worth saving and hadn't let go. That was the woman in the casket, the one whose absence was already a wound that wouldn't heal. Riley, I know this is hard. He kept his voice steady, the same tone he'd used with shell-shocked privates in Da Nang. But we need to... I promised her. Riley lifted her head. Her eyes were red-rimmed, fierce despite the tears. The kind of fierce that came from having nothing left to lose. I promised I wouldn't let anyone close the coffin until they knew the truth. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Not literally, Cole's rational mind knew that, but every instinct honed over 60 years screamed danger. His hand moved reflexively toward his hip, where he'd carried a pistol for 30 years before going clean. Nothing there now but empty leather and old habits. What truth? Hammer's voice came from behind them, sharp with suspicion. He'd moved closer without Cole noticing, protective instincts overriding his earlier restraint. The other ravens shifted too, forming a loose semicircle. Brothers closing ranks around their president, around this strange intrusion into their grief. Riley reached into her jacket pocket. Her hands shook as she pulled out a small silver locket on a thin chain. Tarnished old, the kind of jewelry that came from pawn shops or dead relatives. She opened it with trembling fingers, and a tiny speaker crackled to life. Digital modern, the kind of thing you could buy online for $20. Elena's voice filled the chapel. Riley, baby, if you're hearing this, something happened to me. Cole's breath stopped. Every muscle locked. That was Elena, unmistakable, her voice carrying that slight rasp she'd developed in the last year when the cancer had touched her lungs. She'd kept it hidden from everyone but him, had refused to let disease define her final months. I need you to be brave now. Don't let them close the coffin until Jackson knows. Someone in the club, someone we trust, they're planning something terrible. I found proof. Records, money trails, things that prove they've been lying for years. But if I'm dead, it means they found me first. The recording had that hollow quality of something recorded in secret, probably on a phone, somewhere she thought was safe. Somewhere it turned out wasn't. Promise me, Riley. Promise you'll tell them. Don't let them bury the truth with me. The speaker clicked off. The silence that followed was suffocating. Cole's hands, both of them now shook. Not Parkinson's. Pure fury, the kind that turned men into weapons that started wars and ended worlds. What did she just say? Hammer's voice came from somewhere far away. Cole heard the words but couldn't process them. His vision had narrowed to the locket in Riley's hand, that small piece of technology that held Elena's ghost, her final accusation. She said someone betrayed her. Riley's voice was steadier now, like delivering the message had given her strength. Someone in your club killed her. That's impossible. Nathan Price pushed through the crowd. They called him Vic had for years, though nobody remembered why. 58 years old, former Army quartermaster, had kept the Ravens books for 12 years, with the precision of a man who'd once managed military supply chains. Gray hair, cut short, reading glasses hanging from a chain around his neck. The least threatening raven in the room, which made him the most trusted. Maria died because the warlords forced her off Route 9. Everyone knows that. This kid's making up stories for attention, trying to I'm not. Riley's shout echoed off the chapel walls. She pointed at Hammer with a shaking finger, then swept her arm to include all of them. I was there. I saw what happened. Every biker in the room went rigid. Cole felt his heartbeat in his ears, loud as artillery. His mouth had gone dry. You saw the crash? Riley nodded. Tears streamed down her face, but her eyes stayed locked on his. I was hiding under the bridge. The old one, near the abandoned mill where the creek runs under Route 9. I sleep there sometimes when it's cold, when the shelters are full. I heard motorcycles coming fast. 2 of them. She squeezed her eyes shut like she was trying to block out the memory, or maybe trying to see it clearer. Cole had done the same thing with Vietnam. closed his eyes and forced himself to remember things his brain wanted to forget, because forgetting meant the dead died for nothing. Elena was in front. She was going really fast, like she was running from something. The other bike was faster. It came up beside her and her voice broke. She swallowed hard, forced the words out. It forced her toward the guardrail. She tried to swerve, but there was nowhere to go. The bike hit her, and she went over the edge. I heard the crash, the metal and the glass, and then just nothing. Cole couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The chapel spun around him. Elena hadn't died in an accident. She'd been murdered. Run off the road like a Joe left to die in a ravine while her killer drove away. And Cole had believed the police report had accepted their easy answer because questioning it meant accepting that someone had wanted his wife dead. Did you see the writer's face? He didn't recognize his own voice. It came out flat, dead, the voice of a man who'd killed in war and was remembering how. No, full helmet, dark visor. But I saw the vest, black leather with your patch on the back. The snake and the skull and the crossed wrenches. I saw it clear under the streetlight before they drove away. Every eye in the chapel turned toward the patch on their own vests. The steel raven symbol Cole had designed 40 years ago meant to represent brotherhood and redemption. Now it marked a killer. Everyone in this room wears that patch. Hammer's face had gone pale, his hands clenched and unclenched, old instincts warring with newer ones. 10 years ago, he would have started breaking fingers until someone confessed. Now he just stood there staring at his brothers like they'd all become strangers. Doesn't tell us anything. Riley opened her eyes, her jaw set with that strange determination that reminded Cole of Elena, that same refusal to back down when the truth mattered. The bike does. It had something painted on the gas tank, red letters. I couldn't read all of it from under the bridge, but I saw "We Are" and some numbers, like a 1 and a 7 maybe. The room went dead silent, not chapel quiet, graveyard quiet, the silence of men holding their breath, waiting for the axe to fall. Cole's head snapped toward Hammer. His oldest friend, his brother in every way that mattered, stood frozen. But Hammer's eyes had gone wide, his face draining of color like someone had opened a vein. Who rides a black bike with "We Are" on the tank? Cole's voice cut through the silence like a blade. He already knew. They all knew. But saying it out loud would make it real, would crack open something that couldn't be sealed again. Hammer's mouth opened, closed, opened again. That could be anybody. Lots of bikes have custom paint, not in this club. Cole stood slowly. His knees screamed, but he ignored it. Pushed past 62 years of accumulated damage to stand tall, to be the president they needed right now. Only one person here has a warrior painted on their tank, and the number 17 for the year they joined. The crowd parted. In the back corner, barely visible behind three larger men, sat Tommy Chen, 28 years old, wiry and nervous, with a scar across his left eyebrow from a bar fight 3 years back. His face had gone gray, eyes darting like a trapped animal looking for exits that didn't exist. I didn't. Tommy's chair scraped backward. His hands came up, defensive, pleading. I wasn't anywhere near Route 9 that night. Where were you? Home. I was home watching TV. I swear to anyone with you. Tommy's mouth opened and closed. No, but that doesn't mean nothing. Cole started walking. 23 years as president had taught him the power of silence, of letting fear do the work. Words couldn't. Each step echoed off the chapel walls. The ravens parted before him like water instinct, making them clear a path between their president and the accused. My wife is dead. His voice could have cut steel. This girl says she saw a steel Ravens bike with "War" on the tank. Your bike is the only one that fits. I'm being set up. Tommy's voice climbed to a shout. Someone's trying to frame me. I swear I would never. Then where's your bike now? Hammer asked the question from behind Cole, his voice carrying the weight of 45 years reading men's lies. Where's the bike right now, Tommy? Tommy's face went gray. In the garage, where it always is. Let's go look at it. Cole gestured toward the side door. Right now, all of us. The group moved as one. Tommy stumbled along, protesting words spilling out in a desperate stream that nobody heard. Cole kept his eyes forward, his mind racing. If Tommy had done this, if one of his ravens had killed Elena, then everything Cole had built meant nothing. All the years going straight, all the redemption washed away, by one act of betrayal. The garage attached to the church basement. Someone had built it decades ago for the parish priest's car, but now it held 3 motorcycles that belonged to Ravens, who'd ridden to the funeral. Tommy's bike sat in the corner, black and gleaming under fluorescent lights. Cole circled it slowly. The gas tank was freshly painted. Solid black, glossy, perfect. No words. No numbers. Nothing but unmarked darkness. You repainted it. The words came out flat, statement, not question. Cole ran his fingers over the tank. Still slightly tacky, barely noticeable. Recent work, 2 days ago. Tommy's voice cracked. I just wanted a new look, that's all. Thought the old paint looked dated. 2 days after Elena died. Hammer moved closer, crowding Tommy against the wall. His size, his presence spoke violence in a language Tommy clearly understood. The younger man's breath came fast and shallow. That's a coincidence. I was planning to repaint for weeks, ask anyone. Riley stepped forward. She stared at Tommy's face with an intensity that seemed too old for a 10-year-old body. Her voice came out small but certain. The scar. I remember the scar over his eyebrow. When he took his helmet off after the crash, just for a second, I saw it under the streetlight before he drove away. Tommy's face crumbled. The last support beam holding up his denial snapped, and everything came down. No, no, she's lying. She has to be. Cole grabbed Tommy by the vest, slammed him against the wall hard enough to rattle the tools hanging on pegboard. His hands, both shaking, now gripped leather and felt nothing but the abyss opening beneath him, the one where brotherhood died and only blood remained. Talk, right now, or I let every man here take a turn. I can't. Tommy gasped for air, Cole's forearm across his throat. They'll kill me. If I talk, I'll kill you if you don't. Cole pressed harder. Some distant part of his mind, the part that still remembered being civilized, screamed at him to stop. But that part was drowning under 40 years of learned violence, under the grief that had just transformed into fury. Who paid you? The garage exploded with shouts. Ravens surged forward, ready to tear Tommy apart with bare hands. Hammer grabbed 2 of them, holding them back with effort. His voice cut through the chaos. Let Cole handle this. Cole released pressure slightly. Let Tommy breathe enough to speak, but not enough to hope. Who gave the order? Tommy's eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal. If I tell you I'm dead anyway, they'll find me. You're dead right now unless you start talking. Cole's voice dropped to something below a whisper, colder than January ice. Elena was your sister in this club. We swore oaths. We bled together. And you killed her for what money? $50,000. Tommy screamed it. The words ripped out of him like shrapnel. They offered me $50,000. I've got a kid, man. A daughter. Her mother took me to court. Child support is crushing me. I was going to lose my apartment, lose everything. I was desperate. Riley spoke up from behind the wall of bikers. Her voice carried across the garage, clear and cold. You killed someone's wife for money. Someone who probably would have helped you if you just asked. Tommy's face twisted. Tears streamed down his cheeks, snot running from his nose. He looked young, suddenly young and broken, and pathetic. Elena did help me. She loaned me $3,000 last year when my ex took me to court. Never even asked for it back. Said family took care of family. He slid down the wall until he was sitting on the garage floor, head in his hands. God. Oh God, what did I do? Cole crouched in front of him, ignoring the protest from his knees. Last chance. Who hired you? I don't know his real name. Tommy's voice came out broken, barely audible. He contacted me through encrypted messages, called himself the broker, said someone high up in the club needed Elena gone because she'd found evidence of something big. Weapons deals, cartel connections, trafficking routes that went back years. Bullshit. Hammer spat the word. Nobody in this club works with cartels. We run clean operations. The garage, some protection money for local businesses, bike repairs. We don't touch drugs or guns. Haven't in 15 years. That's what I thought too. Tommy looked up with hollow eyes. But the broker knew things. He knew about club finances I'd never seen. Accounts I didn't know existed. He knew about properties we supposedly own that aren't in any records. He knew about shipments coming through the docks that nobody ever mentioned in meetings. Cole felt ice spreading through his veins. The docks. Portland's shipping yards where the Ravens had legitimate contracts for warehouse security. Legal work, honest pay. Or so he'd thought. What kind of shipments, I don't know. He never said specifics, just that Elena found invoices, receipts, something that proved one of us was running shadow operations, using the club as cover for moving serious hardware. She was going to expose everything, burn it all down. So they paid me to stop her. Riley stepped forward. She pulled something from her jacket pocket. Had she been carrying this the whole time, and held it up for everyone to see? A small USB drive, bright red, attached to a keychain shaped like a motorcycle. She gave me more than the locket. Every head turned. Cole felt his heart hammering. Elena had left more evidence. Of course she had. His wife had been smarter than all of them, had known exactly what she was doing. Elena said this proves everything, but she encrypted it. She said only you would know the password, and I should only give it to you if something happened to her. Cole took the drive carefully. The plastic was warm from being in Riley's pocket against her skin. Such a small thing to hold the truth about murder and betrayal. Did she tell you what's on it? Names, dates, transaction records, audio recordings? Riley's voice steadied as she spoke like she was reciting something memorized. She said whoever's behind this has been stealing from the club for 2 years. Millions of dollars moving through fake accounts. She found the money trail and started gathering evidence, but they figured out what she was doing. Hammer moved closer. His face had gone hard, carved from something older than stone. If this is true, we're talking about someone with serious access, someone high up who handles finances or logistics. That's half the leadership table. Vic's voice came from the back. He'd been quiet until now, watching everything with the careful attention of a man who counted beans for a living. His face showed nothing but concern, but something in his tone made Cole's instincts prickle. Cole looked around the garage at faces he'd known for decades. Brothers who'd saved his life, whom he'd saved in turn. Somewhere in this compound, maybe even in this garage right now, stood the person who'd ordered Elena's death. Here's what happens next. He stood, pulling himself up with effort that showed every one of his 62 years. Tommy, you're going in the basement lockup until I decide what to do with you. Hammer. I want every financial record we have pulled and ready for review. Everyone else, nobody leaves the compound without my direct permission. We're on lockdown until we find out who the broker is. And the funeral, Joe Morrison asked the question quietly. 65 years old mechanic, built like a fire hydrant, currently fighting stage 3 lung cancer, with the same stubborn refusal he'd shown every other challenge in his life. His voice carried the weight of a man who knew about death, who could feel it circling. Cole looked at Riley. She still clutched Elena's locket in one hand, the USB drive in the other. Her small face was set with determination that seemed ancient, like she'd been carrying this burden for lifetimes. The funeral waits. Elena wanted the truth. We're going to give it to her. He held up the USB drive. It caught the garage's fluorescent light, gleamed red like fresh blood. Someone in this room is a traitor. Someone Elena trusted. Someone I trusted. His voice carried to every corner, flat and deadly. And I'm going to find them if I have to burn this whole club to the ground. Riley moved to stand beside him. Together they looked like vengeance waiting to happen. An old man with shaking hands and a young girl with nothing left to lose, both carrying Elena's ghost between them. The compound felt like a bomb waiting for someone to cut the wrong wire. Midnight came and went. The compound sprawled across 15 acres of Oregon timber country, surrounded by chain link and razor wire that looked decorative until you tested it. Main building had been a lumber warehouse once before the Ravens claimed it in 1980 and turned it into something between fortress and home. 2 stories of concrete and steel windows, reinforced doors that could withstand battering rams. Legal now, but built when legal had been a distant dream. Most of the Ravens had scattered to different corners, forming small groups that whispered in tight circles, trust fracturing like thin ice under heavy boots. Cole watched from his office window as Hammer organized guard rotations, as Vic tallied inventory, as younger members checked weapons they hadn't touched in years. Preparing for war they didn't understand yet. Cole sat alone, staring at the red USB drive on his desk. Elena's laptop was open, cursor blinking in the password field, mocking him. He'd tried everything. Her birthday, April 15, 1965. Their anniversary, June 12, 1989. The date they'd first met at that VA meeting, March 3, 1989. The name of the bow they'd had for 12 years, Copper. The location of their first kiss, Willamette Overlook. Nothing worked. His hand shook worse in the quiet when nobody was watching. Left hand now joining the right. The Parkinson's specialist had said stress accelerated symptoms. Cole figured watching your wife's murder unravel qualified as stress. He flexed his fingers, willing them steady. They ignored him. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. "Come in." Riley pushed the door open. Someone had found her clean clothes, a steel Ravens t-shirt that hung to her knees, jeans that actually fit sneakers without duct tape. She'd washed up, too dirt gone from her face. But her eyes still carried shadows too dark for 10 years old. "Can't sleep. Nobody here trusts me." Riley closed the door behind her. "I heard them talking. They think I'm lying. That I'm working with someone to tear the club apart from inside. Are you—" The question came out harsher than intended. Riley met his gaze without flinching. "No. Just no." Simple and direct, the way children answered before they learned deception. Cole studied her. 15 years as president meant reading people, spotting lies and rats and undercover cops. This kid looked him straight in the eye without fear, without the telltale signs of rehearsed stories. Either she was telling the truth or she was the best actor he'd ever met. "Sit." He gestured to the chair across from his desk. Riley climbed into it, feet dangling above the floor. For a long moment, neither spoke. Cole's office held 40 years of Steel Ravens history, on the walls photos from before they'd gone clean, when violence had been currency and brotherhood meant blood. Younger versions of himself stared down from frames, men who'd believed the world owed them something for surviving Vietnam. "Elena talked about you." Riley's voice was small but steady. "A lot. She said you were the toughest man she'd ever met, but also the fairest. She said when you gave your word, it was solid as concrete." Cole's throat tightened. Elena had said that often, usually when she was trying to talk him down from doing something stupid. "Your word is your foundation," she'd say. "Break it and everything built on top collapses." She said you'd built this club on loyalty and honor, that you'd never let anyone corrupt it. Riley's voice dropped. "That's why she was so scared. Because she knew what finding out the truth would do to you." Cole picked up the USB drive, turned it over in his calloused fingers. "Did she say who she suspected?" "No. She said she couldn't tell me in case they got to me first. The less I knew, the safer I'd be." Riley pulled her knees up to her chest in the oversized chair. "But she was terrified those last 2 weeks. She kept looking over her shoulder. She stopped coming to see me as often. When she gave me the USB, her hands were shaking." Cole had noticed that too. Elena's last weeks, she'd been jumpy, distracted. He'd attributed it to the cancer, to pain she wouldn't admit. Now he saw it differently. She'd been hunted, and he'd been too blind to see. "I can't crack the password." The admission tasted like failure. "She said I'd know it. Something only we shared. I've tried everything." A shout from outside made them both jump. Cole was on his feet instantly, grabbing the pistol from his desk drawer. Muscle memory from decades when trouble announced itself with fists and bullets. "Stay here, lock the door behind me." "No." Riley stood too, chin set stubbornly. "Wherever you go, I go. Elena made me promise to see this through, kid." "My name is Riley." Her jaw clenched with determination that reminded Cole painfully of Elena. "And I'm not staying locked in a room while people fight over whether I'm telling the truth. I saw what I saw." "I'm the only witness you have," Cole wanted to argue. Another shout cut through the night, followed by something breaking. He swore under his breath. "Stay behind me. Don't say a word. If shooting starts, you hit the floor. Understand?" Riley nodded. They moved through the hallway together, Cole's gun held low and ready. The sounds came from the main meeting room, raised voices, furniture scraping. When they entered, they found the club split into 2 groups facing each other across the long table. Hammer stood on one side with about 10 bikers. Vic stood on the other with roughly equal numbers. The air felt electric, charged with violence, waiting for permission. "Don't trust a damn thing coming out of that child's mouth." Vic was shouting, his usual calm cracked open to show something uglier underneath. "She shows up out of nowhere with a convenient story, and suddenly we're tearing each other apart. This is exactly what the warlords would want. Plant a seed, watch us implode. The story checks out." Hammer shot back, hands spread on the table like he was holding it down. Tommy confessed. "The evidence is real. Someone's been stealing from us, and Elena found out." "Tommy's a coward who'd say anything to save his skin." Vic slammed his fist on the table. For all we know, this is a setup. They plant the kid, feed her a story, sit back, and watch us destroy ourselves. The warlords don't think that strategically. Hammer's voice went cold, dangerous. This is internal. Someone's been stealing millions, and Elena died for finding out. Then show us the proof. Vic gestured at Cole at the USB drive visible in his hand. Show us what's on that drive. Open it right now and let everyone see. It's encrypted. I haven't cracked it yet. The words felt like admitting weakness. Every eye in the room turned to him, judging, measuring. Cole saw doubt spreading like infection. Without proof, Riley was just a homeless kid with a story. Tommy was just a scapegoat, and the real traitor could disappear into the chaos. Convenient. Vic's eyes narrowed behind his reading glasses. Real convenient that the only evidence is locked behind a password nobody knows. Maybe there's nothing on that drive at all. Maybe this whole thing is careful. Cole's voice dropped to permafrost. His gun stayed at his side, but everyone in the room knew how fast he could raise it. Finish that sentence, and we're going to have a problem. Vic held his gaze for a long moment, then looked away first. Standard dominance play the kind Cole had won 1,000 times. But something in Vic's eyes bothered him, not fear but calculation. Like a man playing chess while everyone else brawled. I'm just saying what half this room is thinking. We're cannibalizing ourselves over accusations from a homeless kid who I'm not homeless. Riley's voice cut through the tension, quiet but sharp. Every head swiveled toward her. She stood in the doorway, small and fierce hands clenched at her sides. I sleep rough because my foster father liked to use me as a punching bag when he drank. I ran 2 years ago. The state stopped looking after 6 months. I survived. The room went silent. The kind of silence that came when men who'd seen violence recognized it in someone else. Elena found me behind a dumpster on Carson Street. I was stealing food, trying not to freeze. She didn't call cops or social services. She sat down next to me and asked if I was hungry. Really hungry, not just tonight, but every night. I said yes. She said, okay, let's fix that. Riley's voice steadied despite the tears on her cheeks. She came back every week for 3 months. Brought food, blankets, books, asked about my dreams like they mattered. She was the first adult in 2 years who didn't try to hurt me or use me or pretend I didn't exist. She took a breath. So yeah, I'm just a kid who sleeps under bridges because home was worse. But I'm also a kid who watched your president's wife get murdered. And I'm a kid who promised to help find her killer. You can believe me or not, but I'm not leaving until this is finished. Cole felt something shift in his chest. Pride mixed with rage, mixed with grief. This child had more courage than half the men in this room. Men who'd fought wars and survived prisons, but couldn't face uncomfortable truths. Meeting's over. He made his voice carry presidential and final. Everyone get some sleep. Tomorrow we start digging through every financial transaction from the last 3 years. Every shipment, every deposit, every dollar that moved through this club. And if we find nothing, Vic challenged but quieter now. Riley's testimony had shifted the room's energy, made doubt harder to justify. Then we keep looking. Cole's hand tightened on his gun. Because someone killed Elena, and I'm going to find them. Dawn broke gray and cold over the compound. Cole had been awake all night, staring at financial records until numbers blurred together. Vic kept immaculate books, every expense documented, every dollar accounted for. Too clean, maybe. The kind of clean that came from knowing exactly which records would be examined. Nothing obvious jumped out. No massive withdrawals, no suspicious payments to Tommy Chen. Whoever was stealing from the club knew how to hide tracks. Riley had fallen asleep in the corner of his office, curled up in an old leather chair with a blanket someone had brought. She looked peaceful in sleep, face relaxed in a way it never was when she was awake. Cole watched her breathe and thought about the daughter he and Elena had almost had. Twice they'd gotten close, 20 weeks the first time, 23 the second. Both times the ultrasound had shown stillness where there should have been movement. Both times Elena had held him while he broke, even though she was the one bleeding. After the second loss, they'd stopped trying. Poured that love elsewhere into the club, into strays like Riley. Maybe that had been Elena's way of healing, saving children who needed saving since she couldn't have her own. Hammer knocked and entered without waiting for permission. 45 years of friendship meant reading each other's boundaries. Tech guy's ready. He looked as haggard as Cole felt. Gray stubble red eyes, the weight of betrayal aging him in real time. Leo runs a computer shop in the city, does side work for people who need things kept quiet. If anyone can crack that USB, it's him. He trustworthy, as much as anyone right now. Hammer's face was bitter, which isn't saying much. Cole gently shook Riley awake. She startled hard fists coming up defensively before her eyes focused. Instinct from bad homes and worse nights. Cole recognized it he'd woken the same way for years after Vietnam expecting firefights, instead of Elena's gentle hands. Easy, just at me. We're taking a ride to the city. 20 minutes later, they were on the road. Cole rode his bike with Riley clinging to his back, her small arms wrapped around his waist. The vibration helped his hands gave the tremors something to work against. Hammer led the way on his own ride, 4 more bikers flanking them as security. The USB drive was zipped into Cole's vest pocket, pressed against his heart, where Elena's wedding photo used to rest. The highway stretched empty before them, cutting through pine forest still dark with morning shadow. The rumble of 6 motorcycles echoed off the trees. Riley's grip tightened whenever they took curves too fast, but she never asked him to slow down. Brave kid. Elena had chosen well. They were 15 miles from the city when Hammer's bike swerved suddenly. Cole looked up to see 3 motorcycles blocking the road ahead. Riders dressed in black with full helmets. No patches, no colors, nothing identifying. Professional. Ambush. Hammer shouted, skidding sideways. His bike fishtailed, caught traction, corrected. Behind them, the other ravens scattered. Gunfire erupted. Not pistol fire, rifle fire, the distinct crack of AR-15s. Cole yanked his bike hard right, jumping the shallow ditch and tearing into the forest. Riley screamed in his ear, but held on. Behind them, the steel ravens scattered engines roaring as they dodged between trees. More bikes appeared from the forest. 4, 5, 6 of them. They'd been waiting position. Someone had told them about this trip, about the route, about the timing. The helmets. Riley shrieked over the engine noise. Those are the same helmets, the same bikes, like the one that killed Elena. Cole's blood went cold. These were the people who'd murdered his wife, and now they were here for the USB drive, which meant someone had told them about it. Someone in the club had tipped them off. A bullet whined past his head, shattered bark from a pine tree. Splinters exploded like shrapnel. Cole twisted the throttle, his bike jumping forward. The forest floor was a nightmare of roots and rocks, but he'd been riding since he was 12. His hands moved on instinct, dodging obstacles, while his mind raced through betrayal and murder. Hammer pulled alongside, gun out. Head for the old logging road, 2 miles north. They broke from the trees onto a dirt path barely wide enough for the bikes. The attackers followed, engines screaming. One pulled up beside Danny Morrison, Joe's nephew, 25 years old, good kid, and forced him into a tree. Danny went down hard, his bike cartwheeling end over end in a spray of metal and momentum. Danny, someone shouted. Cole's throat tightened, but he didn't slow. Keep moving. Orders were orders, even when brothers fell. Especially then. The logging road dead-ended at an abandoned mill. Cole skidded to a stop, Riley tumbling off the bike. Inside now, the remaining steel ravens. Cole, Hammer, Riley, 3 others ran for the mill's entrance. Behind them, the attackers' bikes formed a semicircle, cutting off escape. 8 riders. 8 professionals with military-grade weapons against 5 bikers and a child. Inside the mill, Cole positioned his people behind rusted machinery and rotted support beams. He had his pistol, 15 rounds. Hammer had a gun and a hunting knife. The others were armed with whatever they carried, a crowbar, a chain, 1 more pistol between 3 men. Bad odds, the kind you didn't walk away from. We're outgunned, Hammer said it flatly, assessing their situation with the tactical mind that had kept him alive in Vietnam. 10 firefights, no medals, just the satisfaction of breathing. Then we get smart. Cole looked at Riley. She'd pressed herself against a wall, trying to make herself small, scared but not panicking. Good. Panic got you killed. How many bikes did you see at Elena's crash? Just 1. Just the one that killed her. Now there's 9 out there. Cole's mind worked fast, cutting through fear to find patterns. This isn't about revenge or cleanup. They want something. The USB, Hammer said it like confirmation, not revelation. They want the drive, which means it's got something worth killing for. As if on cue, a voice echoed from outside. Male but distorted through some kind of modulator that made it sound mechanical and inhuman. Digital disguise cheap and effective. Cole Barrett, we know you're in there. Send out the drive and the girl, and we let the rest of you ride away. Riley grabbed Cole's arm, fingers digging in. Don't. Wasn't planning on it. He raised his voice. How about you come in here and take them? Silence. Then, the modulated voice again, colder now. You're making a mistake. The people you trust are lying to you. The girl is bait. This whole thing is a setup to destroy the Steel Ravens from inside. He's right about one thing, Hammer muttered, checking his ammunition. Someone's definitely trying to destroy us from inside. One of the other bikers, Ray Santos, 57 years old, former ranger, had 3 grandkids shifted uncomfortably. If we had any sense, we'd give them what they want. We're dead if we stay here. We're dead if we give up that drive, Cole countered. His voice carried absolute certainty, the kind that came from 62 years of hard learning. That USB is the only proof we have. It's the only thing keeping Elena's killer from walking free. Riley was staring out through a gap in the mill's walls, her face pale. They're spreading out, surrounding the building. Cole checked his ammunition. 1 magazine, 15 rounds, against 9 armed riders who clearly had no problem killing. The odds were mathematical suicide. But Cole had faced bad odds before. Da Nang, 1972. Pinned down for 8 hours with Hammer and 2 other guys, VC on 3 sides, ammunition running low. They'd made it out by being meaner and smarter than the enemy, by refusing to die when dying was the logical choice. Hammer, you're with me. We're going out the back. He turned to the others. Everyone else make noise here. Make them think we're all still inside. That's suicide. Ray protested, but his eyes showed understanding. Someone had to draw fire. Someone always did. Got a better idea. Cole looked at Riley. You stay here. Stay low. Don't move until numb. Riley's voice was steel. I go with you. Elena trusted me with this. I'm seeing it through. Kid, this isn't... She made me promise. Riley's eyes blazed with something beyond stubbornness. To see it through to the end, all the way. That means I don't hide while you fight. Cole wanted to argue. Didn't have time. Outside, the attackers were closing and the net tightening. Every second wasted here was a second closer to dying. Fine. But you do exactly what I say. Deal. Riley nodded. Outside, the attackers had begun advancing on the mill. Inside, Cole prepared for what might be his last ride. He'd lived 62 years. Survived Vietnam addiction cancer scares the slow death of dreams. If this was how it ended, protecting a child and the truth about his wife, there were worse ways to go. The back of the mill opened onto a ravine choked with blackberry bushes and fallen trees. Cole went first, his boots finding purchase on loose rocks. His knee protested every step-old injury from a motorcycle crash in 1987 screaming at him. He ignored it. Pain was just information. You could choose what to do with information. Riley followed her small frame, slipping through gaps he had to force his way past. Young and flexible advantages that age stripped away. Hammer came last, his gun sweeping back toward the mill where gunfire had just erupted. Ray and the others making noise, buying time with their lives. Move. Hammer's voice was urgent. They scrambled down the ravine as bullets chewed through rotten wood above them. Shouts echoed between the trees. Someone screamed one of their own, or an attacker, Cole couldn't tell. At the bottom, a narrow stream cut through the forest. Cole splashed through it, Riley's hand locked in his. They ran for 10 minutes straight, branches whipping their faces, lungs burning. 62 felt ancient when running for your life. Cole's heart hammered against his ribs, rhythm irregular. Stress, Parkinson's, age, all of it catching up while bullets motivated him forward. Finally, he stopped, leaned against a tree, gasping. His vision swam. For a moment, he thought he might pass out, leave Riley and Hammer vulnerable. Then his breathing steadied, vision cleared. Not today. Death could wait. We need to keep moving. Hammer was scanning the forest behind them, listening for pursuit. They'll track us. Leo's shop is 3 miles east. Ray had given them the information before they'd split up. We can cut through the industrial district, get there on foot. With a kid, Hammer shook his head. We're sitting ducks. I can keep up. Riley insisted, though her breathing came hard and fast. She was 10 years old, malnourished, running on adrenaline and stubbornness. But she didn't complain. Just set her jaw and waited for Cole to move. They had no choice. 3 miles through unfamiliar terrain hunted by professionals carrying evidence worth killing for. Cole had led men through worse in Vietnam. That's what he told himself. That's what kept his feet moving. 40 minutes later, they emerged from the woods behind a strip of warehouses. The city sprawled ahead, ugly and beautiful in the morning light. Civilization where laws mattered and bullets drew police. Relative safety. Leo's computer repair sat wedged between a pawn shop and a Thai restaurant, its windows covered with security bars and faded advertisements for services nobody needed anymore. Cole pounded on the back door until a peephole slid open. Jesus, Jax. Leo's voice came through muffled. You look like you fought a forest. Open up, now. Locks clicked. The door swung inward. Leo Kim was 64 years old, skinny as wire with glasses held together by electrical tape. His shop smelled like solder and energy drinks, the scent of a man who'd given up sleep decades ago. He'd served in military intelligence during Vietnam, same time as Cole. Different war, same nightmares. They'd saved each other's lives in Hue 1972. Some debts never expired. What happened to you guys, Leo asked, taking in their torn clothes and bleeding scratches. Hammer was holding his side, probably cracked ribs from the bike crash or the run. Riley was pale, shaking with exhaustion. We got hit. Someone knew we were coming. Cole pushed past him. Lock that door. Don't open it for anyone. Who hit you, professionals? 8 riders, military gear, coordinated ambush. Cole pulled the USB drive from his vest. Can you crack this? Leo took it carefully, turning it over in his hands like it might explode. Encryption. Military grade probably. And it's password protected. That's going to take time. Maybe days if it's serious encryption. We don't have days. Leo moved to his workstation, 3 monitors forming a half circle around a keyboard that looked like it had survived a war. Which, knowing Leo, it probably had. What's on it? Evidence that someone in my club has been running weapons and working with the cartels. Cole's voice came out flat dead, and that same someone killed my wife to keep it quiet. Leo's fingers froze over the keyboard. Elena's dead. The pain in Cole's chest flared fresh. 3 days ago. God, Cole, I'm sorry. She was good people. Leo plugged in the drive. Code scrolled across his screens, incomprehensible to Cole, but clearly meaningful to Leo. His expression darkened. This is nasty encryption. Whoever locked this knew what they were doing. But there's something else here. A secondary layer like a backup system. What does that mean? It means if I crack the password wrong too many times, the whole thing wipes itself clean. Self-destruct protocol. Leo looked at Cole over his glasses. You get 3 tries, maybe 4 if I can bypass the counter. After that, everything deletes permanently. Can you crack it without the password? Given enough time, yeah, but we're talking weeks, maybe months. Brute force decryption against military-grade security. I'd need a supercomputer and a lot of luck. We don't have weeks. Hammer slumped against the wall, pain showing through his usual armor. Those riders will find us, and whoever sent them knows we have the drive. Then we need the password. Leo turned to Cole. You knew Elena better than anyone. What would she use? Something only you would know. Cole had been asking himself that question all night. Every important date, every private joke, every moment that had mattered. He'd tried them all and failed. The cursor blinked on Leo's screen, mocking him with its patience. I've tried everything. His hands shook. The tremor had spread to his voice now, making him sound old and broken. Every date we shared, every place we went, every name we called each other, nothing works. Riley stepped forward. She'd been quiet since they'd arrived, standing in the corner like she was trying not to take up space. Now she moved to stand beside Cole at the monitors. Elena told me something. The night she gave me the drive. She closed her eyes, concentrating. She said the password is what you call home, but not the place. She was very specific about that. Not the compound, not Oregon. What you call home. Cole's mind spun. What did he call home that wasn't a location family, but that was too generic? Brotherhood too obvious. Steel Ravens, he'd already tried that. What had Elena meant? What secret had she left him? And then it hit him, a memory from 35 years ago, their first night together. They'd been at a bar, not the Ravens' place, somewhere neutral. He'd still been drinking, then drowning Vietnam in whiskey and bad choices. She'd asked him what he was searching for in life. He'd said a place to finally stop running. She'd kissed him, soft and unexpected tasting like hope. Then stop running, she'd said. You found what you're looking for. He'd asked what that was. She'd smiled, touched his chest where his heart hammered. Sanctuary. You're looking for sanctuary. Well, here I am. From that night forward in private moments, when it was just the two of them, he'd called her sanctuary. His safe place, his harbor, his home. Nobody else had known. It was theirs alone. Sanctuary. Cole said it out loud. Type sanctuary. Leo's fingers moved. Sanctuary. The screen flashed. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Cole's heart stopped expecting failure, expecting the drive to wipe itself because he'd been wrong, because Elena's secret remained locked forever. Then the screen turned green. Files exploded across the monitors. Hundreds of them. Documents, spreadsheets, audio recordings, photographs. More information than Cole could process, more evidence than he'd dared hope for. Holy hell. Leo whistled low. This is massive. Financial records, transaction, histories, shipping manifests. Your wife documented everything. Cole leaned closer, his eyes scanning the first file. A spreadsheet showing wire transfers, millions of dollars moving through offshore accounts. Dates going back 3 years. Payments labeled as equipment maintenance and facility repairs that were 50 times higher than any legitimate expense. Weapons shipments. Hammer breathed, opening another file. Crates moving through the Portland docks. Elena documented everything. Container numbers, dates, destinations. This is a full operation. Leo clicked on an audio file. Elena's voice filled the shop, clear and strong, despite the cancer that had been killing her. Cole's chest tightened, hearing her again, alive and determined. I'm telling you, the numbers don't add up. Someone's using club resources to move military-grade weapons. ARs, explosives, even RPGs. And the buyer is Sinaloa Cartel. A second voice responded. Male. Familiar. Cole's breath caught. Elena, you need to drop this. It's bigger than you think. People will get hurt. People are already getting hurt. These weapons are killing civilians across the border. I have proof. Then you're signing your own death warrant, Aaron. The recording cut off. Cole stared at the screen, his world tilting sideways. He knew that second voice. He'd heard it his entire life in this club, had trusted it more than his own judgment. Play it again. His voice came out strangled. Leo replayed the file. The voice was undeniable. Deep, rough, carrying the weight of age and too many cigarettes. A voice Cole had heard give orders, tell jokes, comfort him when Elena had been diagnosed. A voice belonging to his best friend. Hammer stared at the screen, his face ashen. That can't be. Riley looked between them. Who is it? Cole's world shattered into pieces sharp enough to cut. Because the voice on the recording, the voice warning Elena she was signing her death warrant, belonged to the man standing next to him. Marcus Stone. Hammer. His brother for 45 years. That's your voice. Cole said it quietly, but every word carried the weight of betrayal and disbelief. On a recording where you're telling Elena to back off from investigating weapons shipments. You think I killed her? Hammer's voice cracked, disbelief mixing with horror. You think I'd hurt Elena? She was like a sister to me. Then explain the recording. Cole's hand moved to his pistol, subtle memory overriding 45 years of trust. The gun came out smooth, aimed at the man he'd bled with, fought beside, trusted with his life. Explain why you're on tape warning her off. Because she told me what she'd found. Hammer's hands came up empty and shaking. 3 weeks before she died, she came to me. Said she'd discovered something terrible and didn't know who to trust. I told her to be careful because I was scared for her. That's the truth, Cole. That's what happened. Convenient story. It's the truth. Sweat beaded on Hammer's forehead. Cole, we've been brothers since we were kids, since Vietnam, since before the Ravens existed. I would never open the next file. Cole interrupted, his gun, never wavering. Leo, show me what else is on there. Leo clicked. A photograph filled the screen. It showed Hammer standing in a parking lot at night, talking to a man in an expensive suit. The timestamp read July 2024, 3 months ago. Who is that? Riley asked, leaning closer to see. Hector Vega, Leo said quietly. I've seen his face in the news. He's a lieutenant in the Sinaloa Cartel. High-level operations, millions in product monthly. Hammer stumbled backward. That's fake. That's photoshopped. Someone's setting me up. I've never met that man. Never been to. There's more. Leo scrolled through files. More photos. Hammer at the docks. Hammer meeting with unknown men outside warehouses. Hammer handling briefcases that presumably held cash. Document after document building a case that looked airtight. Financial records showing payments to offshore accounts in your name. Leo's voice was clinical detached. Emails coordinating shipments. You're the connection, Marcus. You're the one running weapons through club operations. No. Hammer's shout was anguished. I'm being framed. Someone's using my identity, my accounts doctoring photos. This is exactly what they do, turn us against each other. Your voice. Cole cut through the excuses. Your face in photos. Your accounts with millions of dollars. The evidence is right there. Cole, please. Hammer's eyes filled with tears, something Cole had only seen once before the night Hammer's wife had died of cancer 15 years ago. We grew up together. I was best man at your wedding. I held your hand when your father died. You know me. You know I could never. I knew Elena too. Cole's finger moved to the trigger, and now she's dead because someone betrayed her. All the evidence points to you. Then the evidence is planted. Hammer's voice rose to desperation. Think about it. Why would Elena trust me with what she found if I was the one running the operation? Why would I help you investigate if I was guilty? I've been right beside you this whole time. To control the investigation, Riley said quietly. To make sure we didn't find the real truth. Hammer looked at her with something like hatred. You show up out of nowhere with a convenient story, and now you're tearing us apart. You're the one destroying this club, not me. She showed up with Elena's locket and the USB drive. Cole interrupted. Evidence you clearly didn't know existed, or you would have found it before we did. I didn't know because I'm not involved. Hammer backed toward the door. Cole, I'm begging you, don't do this. Let me help you find who really killed Elena. Let me prove I'm innocent. You can prove it from the lockup back at the compound. Cole stepped forward. You're coming back with us. We'll sort through every piece of evidence. And if you're innocent, we'll find out. And if whoever really did this is still at the compound. Hammer's hand moved behind his back. If they get to me before I can prove anything, I'm dead either way. Don't, Cole's voice went arctic. Don't reach for whatever you're reaching for. Time stretched like taffy. Hammer's hand whipped forward with a gun not aimed at Cole but at the computer. He fired 3 times. The monitors exploded in showers of sparks and glass. Leo screamed dove for cover behind his desk. I'm sorry, Hammer shouted over the ringing gunfire, but I'm not going down for something I didn't do. He kicked over Leo's desk, creating a barrier, and fired twice more. This time at the USB drive still plugged into the ruined computer. The drive shattered into pieces, plastic and circuits scattering across the floor. No, Riley screamed, the sound raw and broken. Hammer bolted for the back door. Cole fired, but Hammer was already moving the bullet, punching through the door frame. By the time Cole reached the door, Hammer was on a bike, not his own, something he must have staged earlier, roaring away down the alley. Cole ran outside, fired twice more. But Hammer disappeared around a corner, gone into the city's maze of streets. Gone with all the answers Cole needed. Back inside, Leo was pulling himself up, bleeding from cuts where glass had hit him. The drive, the computer, everything's destroyed, he gestured at the smoking wreckage. I had it open for maybe 3 minutes. Got through maybe 5% of the files before his voice broke. I'm sorry, Cole. It's all gone. Riley knelt beside the shattered USB drive, tears streaming down her face. Elena died for this. She died gathering evidence. And Cole's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number appeared on the screen. His blood turned to ice water as he read. Your lieutenant just called me in a panic. Told me you're trying to frame him for Elena's death. I'm giving you one chance to back off. The girl disappears. The investigation stops. Or everyone you love dies screaming. You have 24 hours. Below the text was a photo. Aerial view of the Steel Ravens compound taken from a drone or helicopter. Red circles marked windows, doors, vulnerable positions. Sniper positions. Someone had mapped every angle, every weakness. Another text followed immediately. I'm already watching. Cole showed the phone to Riley and Leo. Riley's face hardened with an expression far too old for her years. They're going to kill everyone. Not if I kill them first. Cole's voice came out flat, emotionless. The voice of a man who'd killed in war and was remembering exactly how. He had 24 hours to save his club, and his only lead had just vanished into Portland's streets. They made it back to the compound by noon using back roads and staying off highways. Cole had called ahead. The Steel Ravens were on full alert by the time they arrived armed, watching every approach positioned like they were expecting invasion. Which they were. The attack at the mill had left 2 men injured but alive. Danny Morrison had a broken arm and concussion from the bike crash. Ray Santos had taken a bullet through the shoulder holding the mill while Cole escaped. Both were being treated by Joe's wife, who'd been a combat medic in Desert Storm. She worked in the compound's makeshift infirmary, hands steady despite her husband's cancer eating him from inside. Hammer ran. Vic's voice was incredulous when Cole stood before the assembled club in the meeting room. Our lieutenant, your best friend since childhood, just ran. He destroyed the evidence and fled. Cole said it flatly, letting the words carry their own weight. The recordings, the files, the photos, all of it showed him working with Sinaloa, running weapons through our operations. When we confronted him, he shot up the computer and took off. The room erupted into chaos. Bikers shouted over each other, disbelief mixing with rage. Some refused to believe it. Hammer had been loyal for 40 years. Others had clearly suspected him all along, their vindication sharp and ugly. This is insane. Joe Morrison's voice cut through the noise. 65 years old, dying of cancer, but still commanding respect through sheer force of will. Hammer's been loyal for 20 years, since before most of you wore the patch. Loyalty doesn't mean shit when millions of dollars involved, another voice countered from across the room. Cole didn't track who. Everyone was talking at once, the careful unity he'd built over decades fracturing like dropped glass. Quiet. Cole's roar silenced them. He stood at the head of the table, hands planted on scarred wood, and let them see his rage. I don't care what you believe. Here's what we know. Elena's dead. Tommy confessed to forcing her off the road on someone else's orders. Evidence pointed to Hammer. He destroyed that evidence and ran. Now someone's threatening to kill everyone in this compound if we don't back off. He held up his phone showing the aerial photo with marked sniper positions. We have 24 hours before they make good on that threat. So here's what happens. We lock down completely. No one enters or leaves. We arm every window and door. And we prepare for war. War with who? Vic demanded, his usual calm replaced by something sharper. Hammer, the cartel, both everyone who had a hand in killing Elena. All of them. Cole's voice was cold steel. I don't care if it's 1 man or 100. We end this. The meeting dissolved into tense preparations. Men who hadn't touched weapons in 15 years cleaned rifles and checked ammunition. Windows were reinforced. Guard rotations organized. The compound transformed from home to fortress, nostalgia for violent days, mixing with dread that those days had returned. Cole retreated to his office. Riley followed silently, closing the door behind them. For a long moment, neither spoke. The weight of everything, Elena's death, Hammer's betrayal, the threat hanging over them, pressed down like atmosphere at the bottom of the ocean. Do you believe Hammer did it? Riley finally asked. Her voice was quiet, careful, like she was testing ice that might break. The evidence says yes. Cole stared out the window at his men fortifying positions below. 45 years of brotherhood doesn't vanish because of files on a computer. That's not what I asked. He turned to look at her. This child who'd slept under bridges, who'd watched his wife die, who'd carried secrets that should have crushed her. She stood in the doorway with her arms crossed, face set with determination that reminded him painfully of Elena. What do you want me to say? That my gut tells me something's wrong? That 45 years of knowing someone should count more than evidence? Elena died because I didn't see the betrayal coming. I'm not trusting my instincts anymore. Elena didn't think it was Hammer. Riley said it quietly, like she was afraid of his reaction. She moved closer, hands uncrossing. She never said his name, not once in all our conversations. She said someone high up was dirty, someone in leadership. But when she talked about Hammer, it was always Cole's brother or the lieutenant. She talked about him like he was separate from the investigation. Then why was his voice on that recording? His face in those photos, I don't know. Riley's voice stayed small but steady. But Elena was smart, really smart. If she suspected Hammer wouldn't, she had been more careful around him. Wouldn't she have told someone else? She told you. She told me to trust you. Only you. Riley pulled something from her jacket, a folded piece of paper worn soft from handling. She gave me this too. Said I should only give it to you if things got really bad. If people you trusted started turning against each other. Cole took the paper with shaking hands. Both hands now the tremor spreading as stress mounted. He unfolded it carefully. Elena's handwriting neat and precise despite the cancer. The date at the top was 3 weeks before she died. Cole, if you're reading this, I'm gone and things have gone sideways. I'm so sorry, baby. Sorry for the pain you're feeling, for the impossible choices ahead. By now, you've seen evidence that points to Marcus. Photos, recordings, financial records. It all looks damning. That's because it's meant to. Marcus isn't the traitor, he's the scapegoat. The real person behind this is someone smarter, more careful. Someone who knew I was investigating and planted evidence to frame Marcus because they knew you'd believe it. They knew it would tear the club apart from inside. You against your best friend. Brother against brother. I don't have proof yet of who it really is. That's why I couldn't accuse anyone directly. But I know Marcus isn't capable of this. I've watched him with you with the club. He's loyal to his core. Maybe too loyal, which makes him the perfect target. Trust your instincts, Cole, not the evidence. Evidence can be faked. But you've known Marcus your whole life. You know his heart. The real traitor is still there, still watching, still waiting for you to destroy Marcus so they can take control completely. Find them. Make them pay. I love you. Always. Elena Cole's hands shook so hard the paper rattled. He read it twice, 3 times. Elena's words cutting through him like broken glass. She'd known. She'd figured out they'd frame Hammer, and she'd left him this letter to prevent it. But he'd been too late, too slow, too blinded by grief and evidence. She knew they'd frame him. Cole's voice came out hoarse. His throat felt raw. She knew they'd use Hammer against me. So Hammer's innocent, Riley asked. Her voice carried hope mixed with caution. Maybe. Probably. Cole folded the letter carefully like it might disintegrate, which means I just drove away my best friend and strongest ally. And the real traitor is still here, in the compound, watching us scramble. Who Riley moved to stand beside him at the window? Who in the club is smart enough to do all this? Cole watched his men below, Vic directing defensive positions, his usual precision on full display. Other bikers hauling weapons and ammunition following orders. Everyone moving with purpose, except one person who stood apart speaking quietly into a phone. Vic, Nathan Price. Standing near the garage back turned to everyone else, phone pressed to his ear. His body language was wrong, tense, furtive, not the casual confidence of a man coordinating legitimate business. How long have you been watching him? Riley asked, following his gaze. Not long enough. Cole's mind raced through the logic Elena would have followed. If Hammer wasn't the traitor who had the access, the intelligence, the patience to build a 3-year operation right under everyone's noses. Vic was the Qui treasurer. He'd handled finances for 12 years, had access to every account and every transaction. Former Army quartermaster, skilled at logistics and supply chains. He could create fake accounts, doctor records, make evidence appear or disappear. He'd been the one pushing hardest against the investigation from the beginning, trying to shut it down before it went too far. And if Cole and Hammer destroyed each other, Vic would be next in line for president. He'd have everything in the club, the weapons operation, total control. I've been hunting the wrong man. Cole said it out loud, the realization settling like lead in his stomach. He'd let grief and evidence blind him to the truth. Elena had tried to warn him, but he'd been too broken to see. Riley's eyes widened. So who, Vic? Cole pointed at the man on the phone. The treasurer. Only person with full access to create fake financial records, plant evidence, manipulate everything. He's been steering us from the start, first toward the warlords, then toward Tommy, then toward Hammer. Always pointing us somewhere else. What do? We need proof. Cole grabbed his phone, called Leo. The tech answered on the first ring, still shaken from the attack. Leo, those files you recovered. The fake evidence about Hammer. Can you tell who created them? Give me 20 minutes. I might have metadata from the cloud backup. Cloud backup. Everything that loaded in those 3 minutes before Hammer destroyed the computer, automatically saved to my secure server. I was going to tell you, but everything happened so fast. Send me everything you have on the financial records, specifically who created or modified them. Cole hung up and turned to Riley. If we're right, Vic created fake evidence to frame Hammer, but he had to use club computers to access club accounts. That leaves a trail. 15 minutes later, his phone buzzed. Leo had sent a compressed folder. Cole opened it on Elena's laptop, hands moving quickly through spreadsheets despite the tremor. There hidden in the file metadata was a username, V. Price, Vic's login. The fake financial records showing Hammer's offshore accounts had been created on Vic's computer using Vic's credentials 3 weeks after Elena died. He'd manufactured evidence after murdering her insurance in case anyone kept investigating. He made them after she was already dead. Cole breathed, created the evidence to frame Hammer just in case we didn't buy the accident story. Riley leaned closer to the screen. But why Hammer? Why not frame someone else? Because Hammer was my best friend, my right hand. Cole's jaw clenched. Destroying that relationship would break me emotionally and leave the club leaderless. Vic's been treasurer for 12 years. If I fell apart and Hammer was gone, he'd be next in line to take control. He'd have everything. The club, the operation, all of it. A knock at the door interrupted. One of the younger bikers, kid named Jesse, 26 years old, good with technology. Vic's calling another meeting. Says it's urgent, I'll be right there. When Jesse's footsteps faded, Cole turned to Riley. This is it. He's making his move. You stay here. Stay quiet. If things go bad, I know. Riley's voice was steady. Storage room exit to the woods. Don't look back. But I'm not leaving unless you tell me to. Cole wanted to argue. Didn't have time. He checked his pistol, 15 rounds loaded, and headed for the meeting room. Every step felt like walking toward execution. His or someone else's remained to be seen. The meeting room was packed. Every steel raven there armed and tense. Vic stood at the head of the table, his face grave, reading glasses perched on his nose. He looked like someone about to deliver bad news, not someone who'd orchestrated murder. Brothers, Vic began, the voice carrying practiced concern. We've got a serious problem. Defenses are ready, but we're blind on intel. We don't know where Hammer went. Don't know when the cartel's coming. We're sitting ducks. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. Cole stood in the back watching, waiting. Let Vic dig his own grave. I've been making calls, Vic continued. Reaching out to allies in other chapters. Iron Kings in Nevada, Road Devils in Oregon, Blackthorns in Arizona. They were willing to send reinforcements. 40 bikes, maybe 50. Enough to turn the tide if the cartel comes in force. How many? Someone asked from the crowd. 40 bikes, maybe 50 if we're lucky. Vic's eyes scanned the room, landing briefly on Cole before moving on. But we need to act fast. Move our operation before they find us here. Move where, Cole asked quietly. His voice cut through the murmurs. Everyone turned. A secondary location, somewhere defensible. Vic's expression didn't change. I've got a warehouse outside the city, secure, well-positioned for your warehouse. Cole stepped forward. Your location, your allies. Convenient. What are you implying? I'm implying you have been playing us from the start. Cole pulled out his phone, displayed the metadata on the screen. These financial records you showed us, the ones proving Hammer was dirty, you created them 3 weeks after Elena died. Using your computer, your login. The room went dead silent. Every eye moved from Cole to Vic and back. Tension wound tight enough to snap. That's absurd. Vic's face remained calm, but his eyes turned cold. Anyone could have used my computer. My credentials could have been stolen. You're reaching Cole. Grief is making you paranoid. Elena knew. Cole pulled out the letter, holding it up. She figured out you were running weapons. She documented everything. And when she got too close, you had her killed. This is insane, Vic said, but his hand moved slowly toward his vest. You're not thinking clearly. Tommy killed Elena. Hammer destroyed the evidence and ran. Now you're inventing conspiracy theories because you can't accept the truth. Don't. Cole's gun was already out, aimed at Vic's chest. Put your hands on the table. Now. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. The entire room held its breath. Then Vic smiled. It was cold and empty, nothing human behind it. You're smarter than I thought. His voice changed, losing the pretense of concern. Elena was too. That's why she had to die. The room exploded. Bikers rushed forward, but Vic moved faster. He grabbed Jesse, the kid nearest him, and pressed a gun to his head. Everyone back. I walk out of here or the kid dies. You walk out and you're dead within the hour. Cole's voice was ice. I'll hunt you to Mexico and beyond. Maybe. Vic smiled wider, dragging Jesse toward the door. But I've got insurance. I know where Hammer's hiding. Got men on him right now. You shoot me, I don't call them off, and Hammer dies too. Your best friend. The brother you just realized you betrayed. Cole's hand didn't waver. His finger rested on the trigger, steady despite the Parkinson's, despite everything. Where is he? Let me walk. Then I'll tell you. Tell me now or I put a bullet in your knee and we'll see how many men you can command while screaming. Vic's expression flickered. First real fear showing through. Old Fletcher warehouse on the South Docks. Pier 7. But my men are already there. You'll never reach him in time. Riley's voice came from the doorway. Then we better hurry. Every head turned. She stood there holding Cole's backup pistol in both hands aimed at Vic. Small and fierce, the gun, looking enormous in her grip. Let Jesse go. Her voice came out quiet but absolute. Or Elena's not the only ghost you'll have to answer to. You think a 10-year-old scares me? Vic's laugh was hollow. No, Riley's hands didn't shake. But 30 steel ravens behind me should. The bikers had formed a wall behind her, weapons-drawn faces carved from stone. This wasn't about club politics or money anymore. This was about Elena, about betrayal, about a little girl who'd kept her promise when grown men had failed. Vic's smile crumbled. He shoved Jesse forward and bolted through the side door. Several bikers moved to chase. Cole's voice stopped them. Let him go. We've got bigger problems. If Hammer's at the South Docks, we need to move now. Could be a trap, Joe Morrison warned. He looked pale, cancer eating him visibly, but his eyes stayed sharp. Everything's a trap at this point. Cole grabbed his vest. But Hammer's my brother. I threw him to the wolves because I believed fake evidence. I'm not leaving him to die. I'm coming too, Riley said. Her voice brooked no argument. Absolutely not. This is Elena made me promise to see this through. Riley's jaw set stubbornly, that familiar determination. That means all the way to the end. Fine. Cole didn't have time to argue. But you stay in the truck with armed guards. Non-negotiable. 5 minutes later, 20 motorcycles roared out of the compound engines, screaming into the afternoon. Cole led on his bike Riley in a reinforced SUV, behind him surrounded by 4 armed bikers. The rest spread out in formation, a rolling army of leather and chrome. Cole's phone rang. Leo's voice came through his helmet's Bluetooth. Cole, I've been digging deeper into Vic's files. You need to hear this. Make it fast. We're rolling hot. Vic wasn't just running weapons. He was running a whole network. Leo's typing came through frantically. 3 warehouses across 2 states, all storing military-grade hardware. ARs, explosives, anti-tank weapons. Enough firepower to start a war. And there's more. He's got a major shipment scheduled for tonight. 20 million in weapons moving to Sinaloa cartel. If that shipment goes through, Vic disappears with the money, and the cartel owns the distribution network he built using your club's name. Where's the shipment? 3 locations. Pier 7 is one, that's where Hammer is. But there's also Warehouse 12 in the Industrial District and a storage facility on Highway 9. All 3 are loading tonight. He's hitting everything simultaneously. Cole's mind raced. 3 locations, 20 bikers. They'd have to split up, spread thin. Exactly what Vic wanted, divide and conquer. Send the addresses to everyone's phones. He made quick calls, organizing on the fly. 7 bikes would hit Warehouse 12. 6 would take Highway 9. Cole and 6 others would assault Pier 7 to rescue Hammer. Divide their already small force into even smaller pieces. Tactical suicide, but they had no choice. The sun was setting when they reached the docks. Massive shipping containers created steel canyons, shadows pooling between them like spilled ink. Cole killed his engine 2 blocks out, approaching on foot with his team. Riley stayed in the SUV with 2 guards, Joe Morrison among them, despite his cancer. The old man had insisted someone trustworthy needed to protect the girl. Stay on the radio, Cole told her through the window. You hear shooting, you drive straight back to the compound. Don't wait for us. Be careful, Riley whispered. Something in her voice, fear or premonition, made Cole pause. He wanted to say something reassuring. Nothing came. Cole and his team moved through the container maze like ghosts. Fletcher Warehouse loomed ahead, massive concrete structure with broken windows and rusted walls. Lights spilled from inside. Someone was there. They were 50 feet away when gunfire erupted. Not at them from inside the warehouse. Automatic weapons rattling in short controlled bursts. Cole sprinted forward, his team following weapons up. They burst through the warehouse entrance into chaos. Hammer was pinned behind a forklift, bleeding from his shoulder, returning fire at 8 men in tactical gear. Professional soldiers, not gang members. Crates were stacked everywhere, weapons crates marked with cartel symbols. A semi-truck idled near the loading dock, its trailer half filled with death bound for Mexico. The tactical team turned at the new threat. Bullets whined past Cole's head. He dove behind a crate, came up firing. Beside him, his brothers did the same. The warehouse became a war zone, gunfire echoing off concrete walls, muzzle flashes strobing in the dim light. One of Vic's men went down, then another. But they were well-trained, using crates for cover firing in coordinated bursts. Cole's radio crackled with overlapping transmissions from the other teams. Warehouse 12, heavy resistance. We're pinned down. The transmission cut to static and screaming. Another came from Highway 9. They knew we were coming. It's an ambush. We need backup. Vic had planned this perfectly. Split the Steel Ravens across 3 locations, ambush them, all simultaneously wipe out the club in one night. But he'd underestimated one thing. Steel Ravens didn't break. Push forward. So when Cole roared, firing as he moved, his brothers advanced through the kill zone, covering each other, decades of experience turning chaos into deadly choreography. One of Vic's men made a break for the truck. Cole shot him in the leg. He went down screaming. 3 minutes of brutal combat later, the warehouse fell silent, except for groaning wounded. 6 of Vic's tactical team were dead. 2 had surrendered. Cole's crew had taken minor wounds, nothing fatal. They'd survived. Cole ran to Hammer. His oldest friend had slumped against the forklift, blood soaking his shoulder, but his eyes were alert. Alive. You came back, Hammer said weakly. His face was pale from blood loss. I'm sorry. Cole's voice cracked. The words felt inadequate for 45 years of friendship, for the betrayal of doubt. I should have trusted you. Elena tried to tell me. I was too blind to see later. Hammer gripped his arm with his good hand. Right now we've got problems. Vic's not here, he's at one of the other locations, and he's planning to blow them all. Erase the evidence. Kill anyone inside. Cole's blood froze. Explosives, I saw C4 wired to the support columns. Hammer gestured weakly at the warehouse ceiling. There and there. Remote detonators. He's going to bring this whole place down once the shooting stops. Cole's radio screamed with overlapping transmissions. Both other teams reporting explosives. Both asking for orders. 3 locations, 3 buildings rigged to blow his brothers, spread across all of them. And somewhere Vic held the detonator. Everyone out. Cole's voice cut through the radio static. All teams evacuate now. Buildings are rigged with explosives. He hauled Hammer to his feet, ignoring the man's grunt of pain. They stumbled toward the warehouse entrance as Cole's team scattered behind them. The semi-truck sat there, loaded with millions in weapons, evidence they desperately needed. We can't leave it, one biker shouted, younger guy who didn't understand triage. It's not worth your life, Cole shot back. They made it 50 yards from the warehouse when his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered, still running. Vic, smart boy. Vic's voice was cold, amused. You figured out the explosives. But here's your problem, Cole. I'm watching all 3 locations right now. I can blow any of them whenever I want. And I've got another surprise for you. Cole's stomach dropped. Ice flooded his veins. Check on your little friend, the one in the SUV. Cole spun. The SUV sat 2 blocks away, right where he'd left it. But something was wrong. The guards who'd been protecting it were lying face down on the ground. Not moving, not breathing. Riley. Cole sprinted toward the vehicle. His knees screamed protest. His lungs burned. 62 years of accumulated damage made every step agony. He didn't slow. He reached the SUV, tore the door open. Empty. Riley was gone. Joe Morrison lay slumped against the steering wheel, unconscious but alive. Breathing. Someone had hit him hard enough to knock him out, but not kill him. A photo appeared on Cole's phone. Riley sat in a chair in what looked like an office, zip-tied and gagged. Terrified but alive. Behind her stood Vic, one hand resting on her shoulder like a mockery of protection. Vic's voice came through, shipping office Pier 9, 2 blocks east. You've got 5 minutes before I detonate everything. Come alone or the girl dies first. Then your brothers. Then this whole dock goes up like the 4th of July. The line went dead. Cole looked at Hammer. His best friend was bleeding pale, barely standing. The rest of his team gathered around waiting for orders. 5 minutes. One man. Impossible odds. I'm going. Cole's voice was flat. Hammer, get everyone clear of the warehouses. When this is over, we'll need them. Cole, it's a trap, obviously. He checked his pistol. 15 rounds against Vic and whatever backup he'd arranged. But Riley was there. Elena's last promise, the child who'd kept faith when everything else had crumbled. Elena died protecting her. I'm not letting that be for nothing. He ran through the container maze toward Pier 9. Behind him, Hammer shouted orders to evacuate the warehouses. Ahead, the shipping office sat at the pier's end, a 2-story structure of corrugated metal and grimy windows. Light showed on the second floor. Cole entered through the ground-level gun, drawn every sense, screaming danger. The stairs creaked under his boots. At the top, a door stood half open. He kicked it wide. The office was spartanly furnished. Desk, filing cabinets, chairs. Riley sat in the center, still zip-tied, and gagged, tears streaming down her face. Vic stood behind her, a detonator in one hand, pistol pressed to her head with the other. Drop the gun, Vic said calmly. His voice carried the same precision he'd used counting beans for 12 years. Cold, analytical, inhuman. Cole set his pistol on the floor, kicked it away. Vic gestured to his ankle holster with the gun barrel. The backup piece, too. Cole's backup weapon skittered across the floor. Now he stood unarmed, facing the man who'd killed his wife, betrayed his club, orchestrated everything. Better. Vic's smile was reptilian. You know what your problem is, Cole? You care too much. Elena cared too much, too. That's why she had to die. She was innocent. She was a liability. Vic's finger rested on the detonator trigger. She found my operation by accident. Noticed some accounting discrepancies. Most people would have ignored it, written it off as bookkeeping errors. But not Elena. She had to dig, had to play detective, had to ruin everything I'd built over 3 years. You built it with club resources. Cole kept his voice level, buying time. His eyes flicked around the room, looking for advantages, finding none. Our money, our reputation, our brothers risking their lives while you got rich selling weapons to cartels. Your brothers are idiots playing dress-up on motorcycles. Vic's contempt was naked. I turned this club into a real business, an empire. You were sitting on an opportunity doing nothing with it because of your pathetic sense of honor. I made us powerful, made us rich, or at least I made myself rich. Your brothers would have just spent it on bikes and beer. Elena found out, so you killed her. I gave an order. Tommy pulled the trigger. Vic shrugged like discussing weather. Though if you want to get technical, you killed her, Cole. Your rigid sense of honor, your brotherhood nonsense, your refusal to see opportunity when it existed. She died because she was loyal to you and your outdated ideals. Cole's hands curled into fists. Every muscle screamed to attack to tear Vic apart. But that finger was still on the detonator, still pressed against Riley's head. One wrong move and everyone died. What now? You blow the warehouses, kill us all. Disappear with the money, close. Vic tilted his head. I blow the warehouses. Your brothers die. You and the girl die. Steel Ravens collapse. The cartel thinks you stole their shipment. I've already sent them evidence showing the club betrayed them. They'll spend years hunting ghosts while I resurface in Mexico with a new name and enough money to live like a king. Perfect. Vic had thought of everything. Except one thing. Riley's eyes met Cole's. Despite the zip ties, despite the gang, despite the gun to her head, she looked determined. Her gaze flicked down to her right hand. Her pinky finger moved, tapped twice against the chair leg. Signal. Cole kept talking, buying time, reading her intent. Any last words? You can make them memorable at my funeral. Yeah, Cole smiled coldly. Elena told me you'd monologue. She said you couldn't help yourself. Always had to be the smartest guy in the room. Vic's face darkened. What? She told Riley something else too. A third secret, the one she saved for the end. There's nothing in the filing cabinet, Cole said clearly. Top drawer. Elena hid her real backup there 2 weeks before she died. Everything you did, everything you said, she recorded it all and hid it where you'd never think to look in your own office. Vic's eyes widened. His head turned slightly toward the cabinet. For one crucial second, the gun moved away from Riley's head. The detonator shifted in his hand. Riley moved. Small and fast, she threw herself backward. The chair slammed into Vic's legs. He stumbled, weapon and detonator swinging away from their targets. Cole launched himself forward. He hit Vic like a freight train, 62 years of experience, channeled into violence that had no elegance, no mercy. They crashed through the office door, tumbled down the stairs in a tangle of limbs and fury. Cole's fist connected with Vic's jaw. Vic's elbow caught Cole's ribs. They hit the ground floor, still fighting. Vic was younger, faster, but Cole was pure rage given form. They rolled across concrete, each trying to gain advantage. Vic managed to get on top, hands closing around Cole's throat. Pressure built behind Cole's eyes. His vision started to tunnel. 62 years fighting him. His hands, shaking from Parkinson's and lack of oxygen, clawed at Vic's grip. A gunshot cracked. Vic jerked. His grip loosened. He looked down at the red bloom spreading across his side, confusion crossing his face. Hammer stood in the doorway, smoking pistol in his good hand. His wounded shoulder still bleeding, face pale as death. But his aim had been perfect. "That's for Elena," Hammer said quietly. Vic collapsed sideways. Cole shoved him off, gasping for air. His hands found Vic's throat, now squeezing. All the grief, all the rage focused into 10 shaking fingers. "Wait," Hammer's voice cut through the red haze. "The detonator." Cole froze. The detonator was still upstairs, still active. Vic was the only one who knew how to disarm it. He loosened his grip slightly. "Disarm it. Now, or I let you bleed out slowly." Vic's laugh was wet, broken. Blood bubbled from his lips. "Can't. It's on a timer. Set it when you arrived. Buildings blow in 2 minutes. Whether I'm alive or not." "You're lying. Am I?" Vic's smile was bloody triumphant despite dying. "Only way to stop it is the override code. 8 digits. And I'm the only one who knows it." Cole looked at Hammer. 2 minutes. Their brothers were still near those warehouses waiting for the all clear. Not enough time to evacuate completely. "The code." Cole's voice could have cut steel. "Give it to me, and I'll get you medical attention." "So I can rot in prison?" Vic coughed blood. "No thanks. I'd rather watch everything burn. Watch you lose. One last time." Footsteps pounded on the stairs. Riley appeared, zip ties cut, somehow the gag pulled down. She held the detonator in both hands. 1 minute, 40 seconds. She read the display. Her voice was steady despite everything. The countdown was visible, digital numbers ticking down to detonation. "Riley, get out of here," Cole ordered. "Get back to the compound. There's no time. There's no time to run." Riley knelt beside Vic. Her face was pale but determined. "Elena figured out your code. She told me what it was in case we needed it." Vic's eyes widened. "Impossible. She never—" "Your daughter's birthday," Riley said quietly. "The daughter you haven't seen in 8 years because she won't talk to you. October 15th, 2017. 10/15/2017. Vic's face went ashen. "How did you—" "Elena paid attention." Riley's fingers moved over the detonator, punching in the numbers. "She noticed at everything. That's why you couldn't hide from her. That's why you had to kill her. 10152017. Riley's hands moved carefully, deliberately. For 3 agonizing seconds, nothing happened. The countdown continued. 40 seconds, 35, 30. Then the display changed. Timer disarmed. Charges safe. The breath Cole had been holding exploded out. Riley set down the detonator, looked at Vic with something like pity. "She said you were broken long before you became evil. She felt sorry for you. But sorry doesn't bring her back." Vic tried to speak. Blood filled his mouth. His eyes were glazing over, focus slipping. He reached toward Riley, whether an apology or attack, Cole couldn't tell. His hand fell. His body went slack. Vic was gone. Cole pulled out his radio. "All teams' charges are disarmed. Secure the locations. Police will be here soon. Document everything before we go." Over the next hour, organized chaos reigned. Steel Ravens photographed the weapons, the financial records in Vic's office, the tactical teams he'd hired. Everything that would prove Vic's guilt and the club's unwilling involvement. By the time sirens wailed in the distance, they'd gathered enough evidence to bury Vic's operation forever. Hammer received medical attention from one of the bikers who'd been a combat medic. Cole stood with Riley on Pier 7 watching the sun rise over the docks. Orange light painted the water turned the shipping containers to gold. "It's over," Riley said quietly. "Not yet." Cole put a hand on her shoulder. "There's one more thing we need to do." 3 days later, Elena's funeral finally happened. The same rural church, the same white roses. But this time the truth had been told. Vic's betrayal was public. Hammer stood at Cole's sidearm in a sling, but head held high. Tommy sat in jail awaiting trial, having agreed to testify against Vic's remaining associates. The Steel Ravens filled the church along with bikers from 3 other chapters who'd heard what happened and come to pay respects. Elena hadn't just been a biker's wife. She'd been a warrior who'd fought corruption and paid with her life. Riley stood beside the coffin one last time. She placed her hand on the polished wood, whispered something too quiet for anyone else to hear. Then she stepped back. Cole moved forward. He'd prepared words, written and rewritten them a dozen times. Now he abandoned the script spoke from 62 years of hard learning. Elena and Ray didn't die because they were weak. They died because they were strong enough to stand up for what's right in this world that costs everything. His voice carried through the church steady despite the tremor in his hands. "I'm 62 years old. My hands shake. My knees hurt. Every morning I wake up feeling older. But Elena taught me something. Age isn't measured in years. It's measured in how we live the years we have left. Steel Ravens isn't a gang anymore. We're brothers, and our job is to live right long enough for the next generation to see what honor looks like when it's tested." He looked at Riley, standing small but fierce among men, 3 times her size. "This is our last ride, and we're going to ride it the right way." The coffin was finally closed, finally lowered, finally laid to rest with honor and truth. After the burial, the Steel Ravens gathered in the parking lot. Joe Morrison and his wife had formally begun adoption proceedings for Riley. She'd have a family education, a chance. Everything Elena had wanted for her. Cole lifted Riley onto his motorcycle, settling her in front of him. On the gas tank, freshly painted Elena's name and Riley's side by side. Below them, a new phrase in elegant script. "The last ride is the one that matters." 23 motorcycles roared to life. 24 counting Elena's, which Riley would learn to ride when she was older. They formed up, rolling slowly through town. Not racing, not showing off. A funeral procession that announced to everyone watching Steel Ravens were still here, still standing, still brothers. People stopped on sidewalks. Some saluted. Others bowed their heads. The town knew what had happened, knew about Elena's murder. Vic's betrayal, the violence that had nearly destroyed the club. But they also knew about the resolution the justice served, the honor maintained. Cole and Riley rode at the front. Behind them, Hammer and Joe and all the others. Brothers who'd survived war and betrayal, who'd been tested and hadn't broken. They rode toward the compound, toward home, toward whatever time they had left. Riley held tight to Cole as wind whipped through her hair. For the first time in years, she felt safe, felt home. Elena's promise was fulfilled. And in the rumble of engines and the warmth of brotherhood, Elena's spirit rode with them still. The sun set over Oregon timber country, painting the sky in shades of amber and gold. The Steel Ravens disappeared into the distance, their engines fading to echoes. Men who'd lived hard, loved harder, and learned that the last ride, the one where you chose honor over everything else, was the only one that truly mattered.